Hi, it's Katrina. Today's story takes us far beyond the familiar into the shadows of history where strange things lurk. We're talking about ancient encounters, not with beasts or rival tribes, but with something else. Something that defied explanation. Something that descended from the sky and left a mark on the earliest human civilizations. Was it gods? Was it magic? Or was it something far more unsettling? Something that would make you question everything you thought you knew about our past. Get ready because we are diving deep into the alien encounters of the ancient world. Are you ready for it? Aliens in prehistoric India. In the jungles of India, where the bug spray is ineffective but the mystery is off the charts, archaeologists found a cave full of ancient drawings. Etched onto the cave walls of Chhattisgarh in the Bastar region are rock paintings so weird, so uncomfortably ET-like, you'd think Spielberg had drawn them himself. I'm talking about bulbous heads, noodle arms, and full-on flying saucers. These incredible paintings were made 10,000 years before Area 51 even had air conditioning. And before you say, it's just your imagination playing tricks on you, let's take a closer look. Locals in the area have long passed down stories of the Rohela people, mysterious sky-traveling beings who apparently had a habit of borrowing humans for short trips to parts unknown. These aren't just bedtime stories. They are generational folklore that suspiciously sounds like every alien abduction tale you've ever heard. Indian archaeologist J.R. Bhagat has been studying the cave art for a long time, and while he won't outright say the artwork depicts aliens, he has admitted that whatever the beings are, they are really, really weird. JR said the humanoid figures with their massive heads and the uncanny spaceship doodles are nothing like the typical stick figures of cattle herders normally found in these caves. Chhattisgarh's government is now trying to bring in NASA and ISRO because apparently when you find a potential alien message painted on some rocks, you don't call the Ghostbusters, you call the rocket scientists. The big question is whether these people actually documented a real-life close encounter of the ancient kind, or were they just artists trying some spooky surrealism before it was cool? Were they ancient gods or spirits, aliens or artistic liberty? You be the judge. The alien gods of Teotihuacan. The ancient city of Teotihuacan is full of mystery. It was there way before the Aztec. When their people were just a twinkle in history, the city of Teotihuacan was already a sprawling metropolis with over 100,000 to 150,000 people. It was one of the largest cities in the ancient world from about 100 to 600 AD. By the time the Aztecs arrived in the 1300s or so, it had been abandoned for centuries. According to some ancient scrolls and oral traditions, the ancient city of Teotihuacan in Mexico wasn't built by humans, but by the gods themselves, or maybe even aliens. Are you ready for a wild theory? Well, let's call it a story. The Anunnaki came down from the heavens and built a whole city, filled it with humans, and had them worship them as gods. And then they left. Welcome to the lost realm of the plumed serpent, where the Mesoamerican god Quetzalcoatl was an Anunnaki alien who descended from the sky to rule over humans. Based on Graham Hancock's lost civilization theory and Zecharia Sitchin's ancient astronaut hypothesis, Teotihuacan was either built by a forgotten human super civilization or actual aliens from Mesopotamia who were really into symmetry. To find out what's what, let's turn to the sacred timeline. Mainstream archaeologists tell us that Teotihuacan was founded around the year 4000 BC by people unknown. Yet the largest structures in the city, like its grand pyramids, weren't built until 300 AD. What the heck was going on for the first 2,000 years? The answer could be within the ancient Aztec codices, of which very few survive. The Aztec texts speak of Quetzalcoatl as if he were a real living being, not just a serpent god. The texts say he was a fair-skinned, bearded god who arrived in the world with knowledge of civilization, astronomy, and gold mining. The people who deeply revered Quetzalcoatl built magnificent structures like the Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, and temples dedicated to him, such as the prominent Temple of Quetzalcoatl. Now here's where things get a little wild. Some theorists claim that Quetzalcoatl was the Anunnaki god Thoth, who doubled as the Egyptian god of magic. The theory goes that Quetzalcoatl/Thoth was one and the same, and he was kicked out of Egypt during a messy celestial power struggle with Marduk, also an Anunnaki alien. So Quetzalcoatl was kicked out of the club for doing whatever he did wrong. He took his pyramid blueprints, called an Uber Vimana, and relocated across the Atlantic to Mesoamerica. And who did he bring with him? According to this theory, the god brought African Olmecs. This incredible theory states that the exiled god brought a small group of humans from Africa to Mexico, where he instructed them on how to build a whole new society. So we have Egyptian, Mesopotamian, and Southern African culture all mixed into one. These people became the Olmec, the oldest known sophisticated civilization of Mexico, predating the Maya. They followed the Anunnaki god's instructions by building new pyramids, which Quetzalcoatl had altered slightly to be different from the pyramids in Egypt. He was still sour about getting banned from the chat, so he didn't want exact copies. Pretty amazing theory, huh? The only missing piece is the Anunnaki. Teotihuacan was abandoned around 750 AD, and historians don't know why. But according to Aztec legends, it wasn't due to a recession or unexpected droughts. It was a massive flood that wiped everyone out in Teotihuacan. A flood of biblical proportions. And when the dust settled, the Aztecs rose from the ashes and took over the neighborhood. Quetzalcoatl, the Anunnaki, they were all gone. Almost as if they sent the flood to get rid of their human pets as they fled the planet. Of course, it's only a theory. No one knows what truly happened at Teotihuacan, whether aliens were involved or what. Either way, Teotihuacan is ancient, enormous, and weird enough to keep alien theorists awake at night. And now for a quick break, because I want to give a big thank you to I Believe in Fairies for the super thanks. Thanks so much for watching and supporting Origins Explained. It really means a lot, and we wouldn't be here without you. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already to join the Origins Explained family. The Great UFO Battle of 1561. Either there was a space war in Earth's orbit 500 years ago, or the craziest natural laser light show in history lit up the skies. I think you'll quickly become convinced it was aliens. On April 14th, 1561, the citizens of Nuremberg, Germany were just trying to have a chill morning. Maybe grab some bread, not get the plague, that sort of thing. And as they went about their medieval business, the sky lost its mind. Loud booms, blinding lights, objects darting across the heavens like someone had dropped a Star Wars movie reel into real life. People poured into the streets, looked up and went, "What in the Holy Roman Empire is that?" According to the reports, the event lasted an hour. 1 hour in broad daylight. That's not a shooting star, that is a full-on celestial cage match. Artist Hans Glaser documented the chaos for the Nuremberg Gazette. His drawing of the incident is a visual fever dream. Floating crosses, spinning wheels, tubes firing out colored spheres, and something that looks like a flying spear from hell. Those present say they saw objects crash to the ground and smoke billowing through the sky. Scientists want to dismiss the event as a meteor shower. But we aren't fooled, are we? You don't need a PhD to know meteors don't behave like they're in a Fast and Furious sequel. Some skeptics say it was just sundogs, light halos that can be seen with the naked eye when the sun reflects off ice crystals in the air. This explanation might make sense if sundogs also screamed, exploded, and crash-landed in fiery defeat. This wasn't a trick of the light. It wasn't some reflections or some weird aurora. It was lights in the sky zipping around, shooting at each other, and burning up in the atmosphere. This wasn't even a one-time freak show. In 1566, just 5 years later, the town of Basel in Switzerland reported a similar battle in the sky. Then it happened again in 1697 in Hamburg, with witnesses reporting giant glowing wheels spinning over the city. Germany, are you okay? Multiple locations, multiple reports, zero explanations that don't sound like a cover-up or the weirdest weather phenomena ever invented. Could the epic sky battles have been nothing but weird weather? Or did aliens stop by Earth to test their battle technology? To be fair, 1561 Germany was a great time to do so. Zero satellites, no air defense, and the biggest threat to the alien test pilots was probably a goose with an attitude. The truth is out there, but I'll be danged if I know what it is. Be sure to let me know your thoughts and theories in the comments. Zoroaster, prophet or alien Patsy? Before Musk started tweeting about Mars and humans became obsessed with building rockets, One man already had the hookup with a celestial being who may or may not have been a galactic overlord of light. The man's name was Zoroaster. His mission was to spread cosmic truth, fight evil, convert kings, and possibly phone home. He was the original monotheistic Messiah, predating Christ by several millennia. Born sometime between roughly 2000 and 1000 BC, the exact dates are super fuzzy. Zoroaster was the chosen one of a divine being named Ahura Mazda, whom he claimed revealed the secrets of the universe to him at the age of 30. Zoroaster spread his message across Iran, ultimately reshaping society by getting rid of the ancient Persian gods and replacing them solely with Ahura Mazda. Now here's where it gets sci-fi. Ancient astronaut theorists believe Ahura Mazda wasn't a god, but rather an extraterrestrial intelligence, a literal alien entity, zipping in from the stars to download the secrets of cosmic balance into one extremely dedicated Earthling. Zoroastrianism, which by the way is still practiced today after nearly 4,000 years, tells us Ahura Mazda's mission was to fight evil. Not just metaphorical bad vibes, but a real anti-god named Angra Mainyu. This ancient version of the devil basically was a cosmic troll responsible for lies, chaos, and probably printer malfunctions. Zoroaster's revelation included epic battles between light and dark, sky wars featuring beings called Amesha Spentas, and a final showdown at the end of time. Just like the Book of Revelation, Zoroaster claimed a last battle would be waged between good and evil. The Bible has Armageddon, but Zoroastrians have Frashokareti. Everyone's still waiting for either of these apocalyptic days to come. Maybe next week. Ancient texts describe events that sound suspiciously like aerial combat. Honestly, the Zoroastrian manuscripts describe the battle above Nuremberg from the 16th century. Divine vehicles, beings descending from the heavens, lights blasting each other like stormtroopers. Do you think these sky battles could have really happened? The evidence is starting to add up. But if these were alien sky battles, who was fighting who? And how many aliens have lurked around our planet? Hey, here's a little side action. You've heard of Derinkuyu, right? The massive underground city in Turkey? If you're a fan of Origins Explained, then you've definitely heard me talk about Derinkuyu. But get this, some people think it was built as a fallout shelter during these extraterrestrial wars. You know, just in case the alien gods got a little too trigger happy. Zoroaster was chosen by a celestial being from the stars. He received galactic knowledge directly downloaded into his brain. He fought dark, uncreated forces bent on universal corruption. Lastly, he may have been a genetically engineered spiritual avatar from another realm. If Zoroaster wasn't an alien hybrid space prophet, I don't know who is. Maybe Zoroaster was a human being ahead of his time. Or just maybe he was the first true contact between Earth and a higher intelligence. The Sky Battle of 1665. I'm going to ask this again. Germany, are you okay? Because another sky battle took place in Europe on April 8, 1665, just 4 years shy of a full century after the Nuremberg battle, and only a few miles away in the sleepy fishing village of Barhoft. According to multiple accounts, multiple being the key word here, it all kicked off around 2 p.m. A bunch of innocent fishermen were doing what fishermen do, boat stuff and talking about fish, when the sky turned into a cosmic version of Pirates of the Caribbean Ragnarok. Flying ships, cannonballs, explosions, smoke in the sky. Eyewitnesses described it as a full-on naval battle in the clouds. That's how they described it because none of them could imagine a space fight. They didn't know about missiles and laser beams and photo torpedoes. The medieval fishermen described the battle using the only language they knew. For example, just as the battle seemed to be reaching fever pitch, the fishermen said a giant dark object looking like a flat round hat appeared and hovered in the sky above St. Nikolai's Church like it was supervising the entire madness. The fishermen didn't know what it was, but we do, right? It was the mothership, obviously. The fishermen didn't stick around for the encore. These were hardened men of the sea, but even they were like, nope, and buried their faces in their hands. Even when the battle was over, the incident wasn't through. In the days following the event, the fishermen in Barhoft got sick. They suffered from headaches, body aches, and uncontrollable trembling. It was as if they'd been exposed to some sort of toxin. The event was so notorious that German author Erasmus Francisci included it in his 1689 book, The Wonder-Rich Covering of Our Netherworld, or Earth Surrounding Air Circle. I'm not even going to try to say that in German. Years later, in 2015, UFO historians Chris Albeck and Martin Scho gave the mystery a forensic revisit. And these guys aren't just late-night History Channel guests. They're legit researchers. Albeck founded the Magonia Exchange, and Scho works with NARCAP, a real organization studying anomalous aerial phenomena. Their investigation tackled every theory, including some weird ones, like a flock of birds morphing into phantom warships. I know a murmuration of starlings can be freaky, but birds mimicking cannon fire? Really? They also investigated the possibility of the air battle being a mirage, but that seemed unlikely. Mirages don't usually last a whole hour and get people sick afterward. The most likely explanation, if we're avoiding the alien encounter theory, is a mass hallucination. Such things are scientifically plausible, but hundreds of people mass hallucinating an alien invasion? I don't know. In the end, even Albeck and Scho had to admit they were at a loss to explain the sky battles above Germany. And I can't explain them any better, so let's agree that it was maybe, possibly aliens, and move on to, well, more aliens. Puritans and aliens don't mix. When was the first UFO sighted in America? The answer is going to surprise you a lot. The first known UFO mystery dates back to 1639 and involves everyone's favorite breakaway religious faction, the Puritans. You know, the ones who loved burning witches. The day is March 1st, 1639. Massachusetts was more swamped than Starbucks, and no one had even heard of alien abductions. Protestant Governor John Winthrop sat down, cracked open his leather-bound diary, and documented what might just be America's first UFO sighting. And it gets weird. Earlier that year, a respectable gentleman named James Everell and two other poor souls were out rowing through a marsh at night. Apparently, Puritans didn't have horror movies to warn them against such obviously foolish endeavors. Suddenly, the skies lit up like the aliens from Close Encounters were putting on a laser show. James claimed the light in the sky took on the shape of a swine. It was a cosmic pig-shaped UFO, and it hovered above the men in the marsh for nearly 3 hours. To be honest, I probably would have run away well before the 3-hour mark. But not these fellas. The trio watched the thing zip across the sky like it had caffeine issues, bouncing between them and Charlestown 2 miles away, as if playing interdimensional Pong. And then they lost time. Anyone who has ever done a deep dive on UFO sightings and alien abductions knows that lost time is one of the main symptoms of an abduction. In the blink of an eye, the trio was a mile upstream. They had no memory of how they got there. This couldn't have possibly had anything to do with the legendary Men in Black. This was the 17th century. If it wasn't aliens, then who? Skeptics have tried to explain the event away as ignis fatuus, aka will-o'-the-wisps, aka swamp gas. Ignis fatuus are those eerie lights caused by decaying swamp goo that sometimes flicker over marshes. Swamp gas and will-o'-the-wisps are real, but they don't typically blaze in the sky, turn into pig-shaped sparklers, or teleport people. The Puritans would go on seeing UFOs in the following years, and every time blaming them on either God or Satan. The strange occurrences didn't end there. On January 18, 1644, 3 men in a boat near Boston saw 2 human-shaped lights rise from the water, float through town like they were on a ghostly pub crawl, and then disappear. Governor Winthrop noted it in his diary like it was just another Wednesday. A week later, more spectral drama. A moon-shaped light rose in the northeast, met another light like 2 spaceships meeting in the sky, and did a tango. They merged, parted, shot flames, sparkled, UFO stuff. Then it got creepy. A voice on the water screamed, "Boy, boy, come away, come away." It echoed back and forth like a haunted walkie-talkie from hell, moving supernaturally across distances, heard by multiple God-fearing colonists, the kind of people who thought ghosts were Catholic propaganda. Winthrop, bless his soul, tried to explain away the light show and the ghostly voice as a ship explosion. that happened months earlier. A guy named John Shattuck had a boat go kaboom thanks to a clumsy sailor who accidentally ignited gunpowder. Winthrop suspected the lights and the ghostly voice were echoes of that disaster. Either that, or it was evil spirits working on behalf of Satan himself. Classic Puritan reasoning. So, what do you think? Are these the earliest American UFO encounters, or was the devil trolling the Puritan colonists? The sky beings of Australia. While the rest of the world was still figuring out fire, the ancient ancestors of today's Aboriginal Australians were allegedly meeting extraterrestrials. Their artwork depicts beings so alien they could star in a sci-fi blockbuster. This is the untold story of the Wandjina. Sure, someone painted an alien on an Indian cave wall 10,000 years ago. Well, the Australians were doing the same thing 60,000 years ago. Even before Mesopotamia gave birth to civilization, the Aboriginal people of the Kimberley region were chilling with celestial beings. They called them the Wandjina. They believed these powerful sky beings were the creators of everything. And so, what did the Aboriginals do? They painted images of their creator gods in caves and on cliff walls. Spanning thousands of square miles in Australia are pieces of prehistoric artwork showing beings with giant black eyes, no mouths, white, glowing faces, and glorious helmet-halo hybrid headgear. These are even more alien-esque than the creepy carvings found in India. Ancient astronaut theorists have been salivating over these paintings for decades, pointing out how much they resemble the standard-issue extraterrestrial. You know, the ones who abduct cows and occasionally ruin your camping trip. There's more to the story than just art. The pictures and the tales have been passed down from generation to generation since Neanderthals and dodo birds were still alive. According to Aboriginal lore, the Wandjina weren't just pretty faces. They were sky beings from the Milky Way who came to Earth during the Dream Time. For Aboriginals, the Dream Time is a mystical cosmic golden age when everything was being created. It was like the first few days in Genesis, but without God. For the Aboriginals, there was only the Wandjina, ambitious intergalactic interior designers and creators of humans and animals. The Wandjina, just like the Anunnaki, just like the Watchers from the Book of Enoch, and just like Quetzalcoatl from ancient Mexico, taught the Aboriginals how to live. These sky beings brought knowledge and wisdom to primitive, barbarous humans. Then, when their work was done, they dipped. Legend has it they fled mysteriously back into the stars, where they now show up occasionally as mysterious lights zipping around the night sky. We see you up there, Wandjina. Why do you keep freaking out Germany with bizarre light shows and space battles? So the question is, why would aliens reveal themselves to all these ancient cultures but refuse to show up today? Will there be a time when Wandjina, Anunnaki, whatever they want to be called, return and show themselves to the world? Let me know what you think in the comments, and hit that subscribe button while you're at it. Did aliens steal the Maya? Scholars have been trying to figure out what happened to the Maya civilization for decades. They've tried to blame climate change, drought, warfare, sickness, famine, the whole 9 yards. But what if the Maya were part of a mass abduction event? In the year 800, the Maya were crushing it. They had massive stone cities, eerily accurate calendars, cosmic knowledge that would make NASA jealous, and ball games that may or may not have ended with someone losing a head. And then poof, they vanished. No battles, no scorch marks on stone. They just ghosted the planet. Classic Maya cities like Tikal, Copan, and Palenque were abandoned, like someone yelled, "Cake in the break room." Despite this mass exodus from multiple cities, scientists have never found graves, evidence of fighting, or really anything to explain it. A whole empire just disappeared their way out of history. Up to an estimated 95% of the population was gone. Some suspect the Maya knew what was coming and were ready for it. Their long count calendar, an impressive piece of timekeeping, spanned a whopping 5,125 years. The calendar was broken into 13 baktuns, Maya units of 400 years each. At the end of each baktun was a big celebration, kind of like New Year's Eve, but with more jaguar masks and not nearly as frequent. The 10th baktun is a bit of a mystery because it wasn't marked by any celebration. The end of the Maya calendar simply ends. Many suspect they were waiting for the feathered serpent, aka the supreme god Quetzalcoatl, to return, though in the Maya world, they called him Kukulkan. It's possible that whatever the Maya thought was coming at the end of their calendar, circa 2012, arrived much earlier. 1,000 years earlier, in fact. What if the feathered serpent returned, scooped up the whole society, and took them off to planet Zeta 5? A crazy idea, I know, but you're feeling it, aren't you? The seductive Japanese alien. What if Japan had its own Roswell incident? Not in the 20th century, but way back in 1803. On the windswept shores of Japan's Hitachi province, now Ibaraki Prefecture, something weird washed up on the beach. It wasn't a drunk fisherman or an overconfident dolphin. It was a round, UFO-shaped vessel straight out of an Edo period sci-fi movie. Locals stared in disbelief as a beautiful woman stepped out, dressed like she just raided an alien kimono boutique. She was clutching a mysterious box like her life depended on it. The woman didn't speak Japanese. Her boat was covered in what looked like hieroglyphs. And just like that, Japan got its own pre-Roswell UFO legend, centuries before tinfoil hats became fashionable. The mystery woman's vessel is known as Utsurobune, which means hollow ship in Japanese. It shows up in several historical records like it's trying to break into the Folklore Hall of Fame. But what was it really? An alien ship with a random woman in it? And what was in the box? Hopefully not Gwyneth's head. Today, the legend's biggest fan is Tanaka Kazuo, professor emeritus of Gifu University. Tanaka is a guy who used to study optics, but ended up down a rabbit hole of UFOs, ninjas, and folklore because it's just a lot more fun than optics. His detour into the land of flying saucers started after the 1995 sarin gas attacks by the Om Shinrikyo cult. With people talking about levitation, doomsday, and other stuff, Tanaka started giving lectures on paranormal things. And that was when he stumbled upon the Utsurobune case and thought there was something to it. You can't blame him. The original story reads like an ancient X-Files episode. This mysterious woman, described as 18 to 20 years old, had red hair, pale skin, and fashionable robes. That box I told you she carried like her life depended on it, she refused to let anyone open it. Either the box contained the secrets of the universe, or she was just really guarding her jewelry. I don't know, let me know your theories. The fisherman couldn't understand anything she said, and after a lot of confusion, she disappeared along with her strange ship, back to wherever mysterious time-traveling space ladies go when they've had enough of Edo period beach parties. So what's the deal? Did she land on the beach to fix her flux capacitor and head back into space? This is one of the weirder UFO stories because it's not like the others. No lights in the sky, no unexplainable phenomenon, just a woman in an unusual vessel with a magic box. Our friend Tanaka believes this story is true. His research indicates that something washed up on that beach. The tale is documented in at least 11 different records from different authors with illustrations that resemble modern depictions of flying saucers. Whether the thing that washed up was a crashed foreign ship, a cosmic visitor, or something too strange to even guess, we may never know, but that's what makes it great. The First Abduction. It's late at night and you're tucked into bed, half asleep, when suddenly strange lights flash. Time skips like a scratched DVD, and you're on a spaceship surrounded by little gray men who seem way too interested in your organs. Sounds like the opening of a sci-fi flick, which it totally is. But it's also the plot line shared by thousands of people who swear they were abducted by aliens. After digging up the earliest UFO sighting cases in American history, I thought it would be fun to explore where the myth of alien abductions came from. Who was the first one to go screaming to their neighbors and say, "Help, they probed me"? Believe it or not, and it's so crazy you might not believe it, but alien abduction stories have a humble beginning in the form of a comic book. Let me rewind to 1946, when Planet Comics ran a story involving a buxom Earth woman getting tractor beamed aboard a spaceship. It was a revolutionary storyline, and it was soon copied by other artists. In 1954, Britain's Daily Express had a comic strip where a Royal Air Force pilot got yoinked by aliens. These stories were wild, dramatic, and pretty entertaining for people who still called the movies picture shows. These comics planted the seed of alien abductions in the human psyche, because later that same year, things got real. Two Venezuelan teens claimed that hairy alien goblins leapt out of a crashed ship in the woods and tried to kidnap them. Instead of running, the boys fought back with an unloaded rifle and won. This gritty tale circulated just enough to catch the eye of Brazilian writer João Martins, who in 1957 asked readers of O Cruzeiro magazine to share their alien stories. One guy answered the call and kick-started modern abduction lore. Antonio Villas-Boas was a 23-year-old farmer with a creative streak and a thing for late-night plowing, as in plowing his fields. You know what I mean. Come on, guys. After reading Martin's article, he wanted to talk about his own abduction. According to Antonio, a glowing red spaceship landed in his field one random day. He tried to escape but got overpowered by small humanoids who dragged him aboard. What happened next is the thing of nightmares. Antonio was gassed and became violently ill. The aliens poked and prodded him, and then, and this is the real icing on the alien cake, he had relations with a blonde, blue-eyed alien with cat eyes. Oh yeah, and Antonio swore she was a total babe. I think we found the inspiration behind Captain Kirk's love of alien ladies. The story quietly circulated among UFO nerds until 1965, when it exploded into public consciousness thanks to Walter Buehler, a UFO buff who pushed it into English-language publications. At that point, it officially became canon. Alien abduction lore now had a seductive space girl, a gas attack, a spacecraft, and a farmer with way too much free time. Meanwhile, in New Hampshire, just a few years later, another story blasted off. In 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were driving through rural New Hampshire when they saw strange lights in the sky. What followed was missing time and vivid dreams. Under hypnosis, both Hills recounted being taken aboard a spacecraft, examined, and released. Psychiatrist Dr. Benjamin Simon concluded that Betty had dreamed of aliens after her sister claimed to have seen a UFO. Dr. Simon believed the couple experienced some sort of collective hallucination because they'd been thinking so much about aliens already. To this day, the Hills account is one of the most believed UFO abductions in American history. But what few people know is that the alien abduction stories didn't fall out of the sky. The narrative was built piece by piece from comics, bored farmers, media hype, and vivid dreamers. Antonio Villas-Boas may have been creative, and Betty Hill might have just had a nightmare. But together, they ignited a global obsession. Were they lying, hallucinating, or were they indeed beamed up by intergalactic weirdos on a research mission? If the answer is yes, how long has this been going on? Since the dawn of time? The only thing I know for sure is this. When it comes to aliens, people want to believe. Whether it's fact, fiction, or something in between, this is one legend that refuses to be abducted from the public imagination.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for extra content you might have missed.
The monster of the jungle. The Mapinguari is a legendary monster that has supposedly been roaming around the Amazon jungle for thousands of years. It's a giant, dangerous, and fearsome beast that Amazonian tribes wholeheartedly believe in. The creature allegedly lurks in the deepest parts of the jungle, looking like a mix between a large ape and an extinct ground sloth. It moves very slowly. It stands 7 feet tall on its hind legs, and it's matted in reddish fur and has long, sharp claws. You might think it sounds like a ground sloth until you hear the final piece of the description. When the Mapinguari stands on its hind legs, it bears a huge gaping mouth on its belly. The mouth is supposedly big enough to consume any other animal living in the jungle. The name Mapinguari translates roughly to fetid beast. Researchers have found no evidence whatsoever of such a terrifying creature existing. Most scientists dismiss the Mapinguari as nothing but folklore and legend. But the description does match very closely with the physical features of the giant ground sloth. You might know it as the Megatherium, a sloth roughly the size of an elephant that lived in South America up until around 11,000 years ago. Technically, it's extinct. Scientists have found plenty of fossils of them, so we know they were real animals. But nobody in modern times has ever seen one. It's unlikely a single animal has survived these last 11,000 years. And besides, the mapinguari is said to be a carnivore, whereas the megatherium was vegetarian. So what do you think this animal could be, if it even is real? Let me know in the comments below. And now for number 9, but first, it's shout-out time. I want to give a huge thank you to One Nerdy Neko for your generous support. Thanks so much for being part of the family and for spending time with us. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe to join the Origins Explained family. Alien crop circles. In 1999, geographer and paleontologist Alceu Ranzi looked out the window of a plane and saw something he couldn't believe. From his airplane window, he saw a geometrically precise circle carved into the earth somewhere in the Brazilian jungle. The shape would have been invisible on the ground, only recently revealed because of some farmers who cleared a stretch of forest. Alceu was the first one to notice it while gawking out the window on his flight. Ranzi recruited a team of archaeologists from around the globe and went searching for more of these strange circles lost in the Brazilian Amazon like the one he saw from the airplane. They used Google Earth images, they combed through the forest, and to date, they have uncovered about 300 massive shapes carved into the ground at least 1,000 years ago. Circles, rectangles, weird geometric patterns, all of it scattered beneath the overgrown jungle. There is a current debate raging over whether these were archaeological wonders made by a lost civilization or alien crop circles. Each geoglyph is geometrically perfect. Each one is between 2 and 3 football fields wide. They were carved into the earth by what almost appears to have been machinery. The contours of the geoglyphs are giant ditches up to 35 feet across and 10 feet deep. But what's really shocking is that archaeologists haven't found any signs of human habitation. There are no remnants of villages near the hundreds of geoglyphs. Either these weren't made by human beings, or, as some scientists suggest, they were part of a ritual landscape, and these settlements are still hidden somewhere in the jungle. How do you think these giant crop circles were formed? And who do you think did it? The Teotihuacan complex. The Teotihuacan archaeological site in Brazil is a massive complex that includes 20 towns and villages spread across over 7,500 square miles. An estimated 50,000 people lived here between 1,500 and 400 years ago. However, it's not entirely clear what happened to the people who lived in this vast section of the Amazon rainforest. Their disappearance coincides with the arrival of Europeans. However, the Europeans never mentioned meeting these mysterious jungle dwellers. Scientists have speculated the Europeans may have accidentally helped push these people into extinction. When they arrived, they brought diseases, but the diseases spread much faster than the actual infected person did. There are reports that when explorers and conquistadors first arrived to villages and towns, everyone was already dead because the disease had gotten there first. They didn't directly give the diseases to the people of Teotihuacan that decimated their population. Instead, it may have been trading partners who interacted with the Europeans, then spread the diseases they contracted from the foreigners to the secret people of the jungle. But this is just a theory. Archaeological evidence shows their civilization was already dying when Europeans showed up. Some of the earliest conquistadors may have seen the last vestiges of human society here. But by the time Europeans came into the jungle in large numbers, the towns and villages of Teotihuacan had already been reabsorbed back into the jungle. The Sistine Chapel of the Amazon. 12,500 years ago, early humans living in the Amazon rainforest had a burst of creativity. When the Ice Age was still a thing, with huge chunks of North America still covered in ice, the people in the Amazon were drawing doodles on the faces of a cliff. Archaeologists recently discovered what they are calling the Sistine Chapel of the Ancients. It's a massive cliff face stretching 8 miles across the Colombian jungle. It might just be the biggest canvas in the world. It's certainly one of the largest collections of prehistoric rock art anywhere. The whole thing is covered in thousands of paintings, everything from animals to strange anthropomorphic beings, humans, and extinct beasts. It's the extinct beasts that have researchers particularly excited. Already, scientists have identified paintings of extinct creatures like giant ground sloths, horses from the Ice Age, mastodons, and an extinct kind of llama. Because of the date these paintings were made, researchers say the artists were the very first humans to reach the Amazon. These were some of the earliest generations of human beings to live in this part of the world. What's extra baffling is why the ancient people went through the trouble of making an 8-mile-long piece of art. It's so big, with so many intricacies, researchers are saying it will take generations to fully understand. The site is so new, it hasn't even been given an official name yet. What do you think it should be called? Let me know in the comments. The Varginha UFO Incident. In 1996, residents of the small Brazilian city of Varginha witnessed something unusual. Multiple people reported seeing strange creatures and flying saucers in the sky. Some even claimed they saw extraterrestrial beings. During the incident, animals were reported dead at the zoo, and a woman was supposedly impregnated by an alien. It was chaos and anarchy. The event has still never truly been explained. It all started on January 20th. 3 young women described seeing a creature that walked on 2 legs, had a giant head and weird bumps all over it. Its eyes looked like 2 red orbs in its head. They thought it looked a little wobbly, like maybe it was sick or injured. Instead of helping it, the 3 women ran away and told their mother they had seen the devil. It's hard to say if aliens really did descend on this sleepy jungle town. When news got out about the 3 young women who saw the devil, many more claims came out. People reported unidentified animals prowling the forest. A police officer was killed. There were unexplained animal deaths in the surrounding area. However, none of these singular events have ever been linked to one another as part of some botched alien touchdown on our planet. The Brazilian military released a statement in 2010 trying to put the mystery to rest. An official inquiry concluded the 3 young women came upon a homeless man who was mentally unstable, not an alien or the devil. The City of Giants. In the local legends of rural Ecuador, there is one story in particular that has fascinated archaeologists. The story is that of a city home to ancient giants. The giants supposedly inhabited a huge part of the Amazon basin before regular humans arrived. The ordinary-sized humans defeated the giants. Then their cities were slowly reclaimed by nature. There are no official dates for when the giants were defeated, but we assume it happened a few thousand years ago. Up until about a decade ago, there was absolutely no evidence of a city of giants in Ecuador, but that all changed in 2013 when reports came out of a huge structure being found deep in the jungle. The structure was 260 feet tall and just as wide, made of hundreds of blocks. The structure isn't a building, it's not a city, but a wall sloping out of the ground at a 60-degree angle. It looks like a paved street of cobblestones, only way bigger and jutting out of the earth like the roof of a building. The rocks were clearly sculpted by human hands, but whose? Ordinary human hands? Or the hands of giants? It's been a decade since the discovery was announced, and we haven't gotten any more information. The international team of scientists who found the structure took photographs of it, documented it, talked about it briefly, then nothing. It doesn't look like anyone has gone back since. We don't know what's buried in the jungle here, how many other structures there are, or why all archaeological investigations suddenly ceased. Marajoara culture. The Marajoara culture lived on an island at the mouth of the Amazon River in northern Brazil. Expert historian, journalist, and author Charles C. Mann believes the culture reached its peak in 800 AD, then flourished for 600 years before disappearing. Human activity began on Marajo Island around 1000 BC, but it took nearly 2,000 years for them to really hit their stride. Archaeologists have found the ruins of buildings, smashed pieces of pottery, elaborate paintings, statues, and burial urns. There was a very intelligent and technologically advanced group of people living on this random Amazonian island. Scientists still don't know everything there is to know, of course. The Marajoara could have supported a population of around 100,000, demolishing huge swaths of rainforest to make room for large-scale agriculture. American archaeologist Betty Meggers suggested the society moved across the jungle from the Andes and settled at the mouth of the river, and this would make them potential relatives of the Inca. Skeletal evidence, burial mounds, and residential structures show there was major stratification on the island. There seems to have been an elite class, identifiable by their well-nourished skeletons, and don't forget their huge houses. Then there were the peasants, identified by their frail bones and tiny huts. Nobody really knows what happened here. We don't know where they came from, what religious beliefs they followed, or what their government looked like. But based on the evidence, the island had a very small group of elites who controlled a significantly worse-off group of people. The giant anaconda. In the 19th century, explorer Percy Fawcett discovered a prehistoric snake as he hunted through the Amazon jungle for lost civilizations. According to Percy's own account, the enormous serpent was about 40 feet long and a foot in diameter. It was a living terror about the size of the extinct Titanoboa. But this was a little more than a century ago, and Titanoboa went extinct 58 million years ago. There is very little chance Titanoboa is still clinging to life somewhere in the jungle. The locals still report seeing this creature and call the serpent Yakumama, Mother of Water. In the years since Percy Fawcett vanished in search of the lost city of Z, many more explorers have reported seeing a huge snake. Some are clearly lying, saying they saw something over 100 feet long slithering through the jungle. But there are plenty of more reliable accounts. A Peruvian man named Juan Palomino allegedly found an anaconda 40 feet in length and killed it during a military expedition. Mike Warner, an Irish lithographer, said he found proof of the creature looking through satellite images in 2009. It's not totally impossible that Percy Fawcett came across an oversized anaconda. The green anaconda does grow to be 23 feet on average. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to find an exceptionally big one, or to at least misjudge its length. Maybe there are 30-foot anacondas, and people have mistaken them for being 40 feet long. Do you think there are snakes over 40 feet long hiding in the Amazon? Let me know in the comments. Manuscript 512. In the National Library of Rio de Janeiro, there is a section of ancient and mysterious manuscripts. One of them is a document which dates back to the 18th century. It's called Manuscript 512, and it tells a rather unusual story. The ancient document details the discovery of an ancient stone city in the Amazon jungle. It wouldn't be all that unusual if not for the description of the city. The text claims explorers in the 1700s found a city unlike any other in the jungle, or anywhere in the Americas for that matter. It had Mediterranean-style houses, wide streets, and looked like it had been transported straight from Hellenistic Greece. The architecture was clearly Greek or Roman, not what you expect to find in the Amazon. The authenticity of the manuscript is debatable. It was written in the form of a letter, supposedly by Portuguese treasure hunters looking for the lost mines of Muribeca in Brazil. The Portuguese wrote that the Mediterranean city was abandoned. There was nobody there, only ruins, fading artwork, and coins minted with curious figures on them. Nobody in modern times has ever been able to find this forgotten place, and most experts don't put much faith in the manuscript. Cave visitors. Near the small town of Monte Alegre in the Amazon River Basin, there is a mysterious cave. It yields evidence of human habitation from 11,000 years ago. Anna C. Roosevelt from Chicago's Field Museum excavated the cave of the Painted Rock and found stone spear points and other primitive tools. She and her colleagues also uncovered charred plants and animal remains. This seems to show the early inhabitants of the jungle cavern foraged for plants and hunted small animals to survive. I guess that's not that surprising. For many years, the accepted theory for how people arrived in South America is as follows. For 3,000 straight years, human beings left Asia, walked across the land bridge into North America, then hiked all the way through the US, Mexico, Central America, and settled in the Andes Mountains. It's long been believed that the early culture of the Andes was similar to the Clovis culture of the southern United States. But what we are seeing in this cave is a totally different culture. Here we have a group of people who preferred living in the closed canopy of the forest instead of out in the open on the mountains. The accepted theory for the people of South America could be very wrong. The remote jungle cave shows a distinct culture 5,000 miles from the Clovis, on the other side of South America from the Andes, totally separate from everyone else. Had they even come from Asia? Maybe they arrived in South America from the other side of the globe, coming across the ocean on boats. Scientists just don't know the answers. What do you think life was like for people in the Amazon thousands of years ago? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already and come back soon. Bye!